of you.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on ADBN TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
The global business is never static. Watch the market report on ADBN TV for business information, latest happening, business deals, government economic policies, stock, crude oil and commodity trading, financial upstick and downstick, and the world of organized private sector. The market report showing on ADBN TV 1 to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday. The market report bringing you up to speed in the business world.
ADBN, Advocate Broadcasting Network.
This is ADBN News. The headlines. Federal government moves to upgrade air traffic management with state-of-the-art center. FCT police arrest 2 suspects linked to Asokoro murder. Stakeholders advocate economic empowerment for people living with disabilities. On the foreign scene, 2 people have been found dead in South Africa over taxi war. In sports, air sprinter Mary O'Neill commends NDDC for providing a platform for youth athletes. Good evening, I am Ama Marcus. Now, the details. The Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbadagbiamila, has reaffirmed the Presidency's support for the Special Committee on Campaign Against Social Vices in Secondary and Tertiary Institutions, describing its mandate as critical to Nigeria's future. In a statement by Abiodun Oladunjoye, Director, Information and Public Relations, Gbadagbiamila gave the assurance today during a meeting with members of the committee led by its chairman, Professor Jerry Ugokwe, at the State House in Abuja. He expressed confidence in the integrity and capacity of the committee, noting that its designation as a special committee underscores the importance of its assignment, which centers on the well-being and moral development of young Nigerians. The Chief of Staff warned that rising social vices among youths constitutes a growing national concern, stressing that although young people are often described as the future, deliberate and coordinated action is required to secure that future. Gbadagbiamila emphasized that tackling the menace requires a whole-of-society approach involving parents, teachers, religious leaders, communities, and relevant institutions. He noted that the challenge has assumed near-pandemic proportions globally. As a demonstration of personal commitment, he announced 50 million naira seed donation to support the committee's work to be released in 2 tranches, beginning with 25 million naira. He further assured members that his office would remain open for sustained engagement. Earlier, the chairman of the committee, Professor Jerry Ugokwe, expressed appreciation for the audience and for the vision behind the committee's establishments. Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has declared its readiness to generate a sum of 23.8 billion naira as its targeted internally generated revenue for 2026 fiscal year, which is 4 billion naira higher than its target for 2025. The Registrar of JAM, Professor Ishak Oloyede, who was represented at the 2026 defense meeting before the Senate on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund by a director in his office, Dr. Mustafa Bello, said out of the targeted 23.8 billion naira IGR, 6 billion naira would be remitted into the federal government coffers. The director had earlier in his presentation on 2025 budget performance informed Senator Muntari Dandute-led committee that 18.5 billion naira was generated in the fiscal year as IGR and 4 billion naira remitted to the Federation account as operating surplus. On preparedness of the examination body for the 2026 UTME, the director said 1,000 examination centers have been created, which, according to him, are far higher than less 800 centers used in 2025.
For our expenditures, for personnel, we actually spent 5.6 billion paid directly by the APPS Office of the Accountant General. For overhead, we budgeted 14 billion, but we spent 13 billion. For capital, we budgeted 1.6, and we are spending 1.6. For 2026, we plan to generate 23.8 billion as our IGR, and we intended the federal government will pay about 6.7 for our personnel. So the total budget revenue is 30.6 billion, while we plan to spend that 24 for both overhead, salary and capital, leaving us with an operating surplus of 6 billion, and we are remitting about 6 billion to the federal government in 2026.
Impressed by the performance of JAMB under the leadership of Professor Oloyede, the committee, from chairman to members, gave the examination body pass mark. However, Senator Johanna Amos of Adamawa North tasked JAMB to reduce its examination fee from 3,500 it presently.
Year in, year out, some of the enrollment are finding it difficult in the universities and other tertiary institutions, and because of your lack of synergy between the universities and the JAM.
I'm a bit worried about the rural aspect, rural people, how difficult it is for the rural people to meet up the requirements and score sufficient points. I don't know whether you intend to make more approaches in terms of facilities and centers equitably.
Is all this money, you are raising them from our children. I think this is the money they are paying for their JAM exams, and you keep on increasing them. Don't you think it's time for you to slow down with the type of money you charge all these our children, some of whom are very poor? They can hardly make it to pay for their
JAM exam and the rest of it. I think that has been my concern over the years.
Responding, the director in his response said the fee was 5,000 naira before the current registrar reduced it to 3,500. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, has firmly rejected calls for the federal government to resort to printing additional naira to address funding gaps in the 2025 budget, amid growing concerns over the alleged non-release of capital funds and delays in the payments of contractors. Edun made the clarification during an urgent strategic session with the Senate on the 2025 budget performance and broader fiscal policy framework, where lawmakers raised questions over capital expenditure implementation and borrowing levels, responding to suggestions that the government could adopt fresh ways and means financing similar to that deployed under the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Edun stressed that the era of unchecked monetary financing was over. Also addressing the session, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, said Nigeria's core challenges lies in the relatively small size of its economy compared to peer nations, drawing comparisons with countries such as Brazil, Indonesia, and Pakistan. In his opening remark, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, Sani Musa, said the interactive session was convened to ask critical questions regarding government borrowings, approved funds for the 2025 appropriation gaps. Lawmakers expressed concern over delayed contractor payments and capital project executions, signaling intensified oversight as the 2025 fiscal year progresses. As demands for transparency and accountability grow, experts say effective legislation must be driven by credible data and strong research systems. This was the focus of a high-level dialogue on strengthening evidence and exchange in legislative research and knowledge management, held at the Secretariat of the Conference of Speakers and Presidents of African Legislators in Abuja. Our correspondent Ada Oka reports.
The engagement brought together parliamentary leaders, researchers, policy experts, and civil society actors from across Africa to promote stronger parliamentary research ecosystems. Secretary General of COSPAL, Ambassador Dapo Oyewole, described the forum as a solution-driven platform to strengthen legislative performance. He said it addresses institutional gaps, capacity constraints, and funding challenges affecting parliamentary research across the continent.
The purpose of this gathering is to collectively understand the issues, the challenges, as well as the opportunities before us, particularly in policy and legislative research and knowledge management across our continent, and to begin laying the foundation for a more structured and enduring collaboration through the establishment of the African Parliamentary Research and Knowledge Management Network, which we like to call ARCNet. This will be a platform that will bring together parliamentary research centers, legislative institutes, universities, policy think tanks, and knowledge centers working on parliamentary governance across Africa.
Professor of Comparative Political Science, Osei Anja, said the dialogue encourages collaboration among researchers, policymakers, and civil society groups. She stressed that research must translate into measurable governance impacts and urged lawmakers to better educate citizens on the responsibilities of the National Assembly.
I mean, many decisions in the National Assembly impact development in one or the other way. The question is, are people perceiving that? So is the communication good enough to educate voters actually about what is done in the National Assembly so that they also perceive that they are represented? And I think there is a lot to be fixed in the communication between national assemblies and voters.
Founder and Chief Executive Officer of Electure, Ibijoke Fabrode, described her organization's partnership with COSPAL as a strategic move to strengthen women's parliamentary leadership across member countries.
We will be collaborating to advance women's parliamentary leadership across Africa, across all the member countries, and part of that is grounded in research through flagship reports, data repository, joint convenings, peer-to-peer exchange, and really just ensuring that the evidence when it comes to women's representation in parliament is well-grounded and is evidence-based at the end of the day.
The dialogue underscores a renewed continental push to institutionalize evidence-based lawmaking and strengthen knowledge systems as key pillars of governance reform. Ada Oka, ADBN News.
The executive chairman of the Nigeria Revenue Service, Zak Adedeji, says ongoing tax reforms and the integration of petroleum and mineral royalties into the agency's collection system are expected to significantly boost government revenue in the coming fiscal year. Adedeji says the total revenue target covering taxes, royalties and other mineral income is projected at 40.7 trillion naira for 2026. He spoke when members of the Presidential Economic Team, including the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, appeared before the House Committee on Appropriations to review the 2025 budget performance and proposals for 2026. The NRS chairman says the service surpassed its 2025 revenue target of 25.2 trillion naira by generating 28.23 trillion naira, representing about 12% above projections, largely driven by strong non-oil tax receipts. Non-oil revenue reached 21.46 trillion naira, while all taxes recorded a shortfall of about 5.2%. He added that the 2025 collection represents an increase of 6.5 trillion naira compared to 2024, amounting to more than 30% growth. For 2026, the service is projecting 32.14 trillion naira in core collections, supported by an anticipated rise in oil production from 1.7 million barrels per day to 1.8 million barrels per day.
So if we go to 2026 targets, in the light of the forecast that we have for oil from that 25.2 trillion we did last year, we forecasted that we will do 32.14 trillion for 2026, which is 3.85 trillion higher than the actual collection in 2025. The increase is forecast on oil relative to non-oil is due to higher production forecast from 1.7 million barrels per day in 2025 to 1.8 million barrels per day in 2026, which we believe we offset by the drop in the price of crude oil.
Minister of Finance Wale Edun attributes fiscal pressures inherited before the administration of President Bola Tinubu to heavy reliance on ways and means financing and subsidy-related funding arrangements, noting that corrective measures created funding gaps that required adjustments. Minister of Budget and Economic Planning Atiku Bagudu says engagements with the National Assembly led to an engagement to move about 70% of the 2025 capital component into the 2026 fiscal year to improve implementation prospects.
There had to be a cost. There had to be a cost to regularization, to standardization, to coming from a situation that was fiscally unsustainable, was technically unorthodox, and could not stand. And it was long delayed by the fact that with your help and your cooperation, Mr. President had the courage, the tenacity, and the commitment to correct. It meant that we will find ourselves in a situation where we have to agree.
Steps are being taken. Mr. President has demonstrated that he has issued an executive order, which we believe is consistent with the agreement reached, that the 2026 budget that will come by God's grace and your permission will be, the chances of it being better funded will be put in place, and mistakes or rather mismatch between revenue and expenditure that has hitherto visited our budget will be limited to the barest minimum.
Chairman of the House Committee on Appropriations, Honorable Abubakar Bichi, says the session is to enable lawmakers scrutinize revenue projections and budget performance ahead of consideration of the 2026 appropriation bill.
As we are all aware that 2025, we have achieved almost 28 trillion from our revenue, which is beyond to 25 trillion as targeted in the 2025. And of course, we passed tax laws. We believe that even the projection 40 trillion, we need to have more information from you so that Nigerians can see how important that laws we have done in National Assembly. We also want to hear from the Minister of Budget to shed more light about the implementation roles under his ministry for the 2026 as well as the previous 2025.
The FCT Police Command has arrested 2 suspects in connection with a January 2026 armed robbery and murder incident in Asokoro, where a security guard was killed and valuables, including a Toyota Camry, were stolen. The suspects, Amechi Edemba and Kelechi Nwokoro, were apprehended following an intelligence-led operation by the command's Scorpion Squad. Police say Nwokoro, a former security guard at the residence, allegedly masterminded the attack after his dismissal, recruiting accomplices from Nasarawa State. Investigations reveal he disabled the CCTV and electricity supply before leading the gang into the premises. The on-duty guard was overpowered and killed during the attack. The stolen vehicle and other exhibits have been recovered, while efforts continue to arrest other members of the gang still at large. The Commissioner of Police has urged residents to profile domestic staff with police before employment and report suspicious activities through the command's emergency lines. Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Engineer Felix Omashola, has reaffirmed the board's commitment to deepening the country's content compliance and strengthening collaboration across the midstream sector. He made this known at a one-day Nigeria content sensitization workshop for midstream stakeholders in Abuja. Representing the Executive Secretary, the Acting Director of Monitoring and Evaluation, Mr. Silas Ajimajaye, emphasized the importance of strict adherence to provisions of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act of 2010.
During COVID, the data we got from you led to certain intervention, including financial interventions, in the industry that helped a lot of companies, and I know some of you may be here who benefited. If you see all these products with BOI, with Nexim, and they are the product of the gap analysis that we have done, and even the diversity fund for women-owned businesses and so on. So these are the things we do. If you give us the correct number, it will make us to realize where the gaps are in the industry. They are not punitive as such. It helps us to formulate policies, improve on the policies that we already have, or even advise the government on what to do.
The workshop featured presentations from key stakeholders and officials of the board, focusing on critical provisions of the NOGICD Act, compliance requirements, and practical strategies for capacity indigenous building. Deliberations also centered on actionable steps towards achieving the board's target of 70% Nigerian content by 2027. Meanwhile, participants were encouraged to strengthen partnerships and align operational processes with national content objectives to ensure sustainable growth in the sector. In a follow-up to the first policy dialogue meeting of the French Embassy-funded Empower Her Ability project, which held in September 2025, stakeholders reconvened for a second policy dialogue on disability-inclusive economic empowerment, themed from commitment to action, strengthening implementation and accountability. The core agenda centered on a review process of previously agreed commitments, validation of findings, and development of consolidated sets of policy asks to guide coordinated implementation. Sharing experiences and identifying emerging priorities for action. Head Women and Gender Unit, National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, restated the Commission's commitments to bridging disability compliance gaps while recounting her personal experiences as a person living with disabilities.
We still have a lot of gap, especially when it comes to economic empowerment. A lot of gap, because I always say that if a woman is empowered economically, she can reach the top because she will be able to have the right form of thinking, and then she will be able to take care of herself, her immediate environment, her family, and contribute to the community. It means a lot. Then it will also drive decision making of that woman. Because when a woman is not empowered, her decision is down. In fact, she doesn't even have any decision.
Barrister Theophilus Adaudu highlighted some financial inclusion barriers to include the lack of access to ATM cards for visually impaired account holders.
Globally, the funds that's available for disability rights is just a little part of what you see available to fund the entire human rights space. So we keep calling and keep pushing to have more people fund disability rights, because there is the work to advance disability inclusion is very enormous, and when we have pools of funds from different funders supporting this cause, then we are able to make progress.
In his address, Board Chair ETTDI Dr. Ima Chima, represented by Professor Reginald Chima, harped on key recommendations such as targeted mentorship amongst other strategic alignments to achieve economic empowerment.
Importance of saving clusters, targeted mentorship, flexible loan terms, digital accessibility of banking platforms, sign language capacity within the financial institutions, accessibility audits, disability compliance certification, and above all, stronger representation of women with disabilities in economic institutions.
Senior Special Assistants to the President on Special Needs and Equal Opportunities, Honorable Mohammed Abba Isa, represented by Mr. Lanwe Oloyede, reiterated the government's commitment to advancing disability-inclusive entrepreneurship for national development.
Today, we are not merely continuing a conversation, we are rather deepening our commitment. Women with disabilities in Nigeria often face what I describe as double marginalization. First, on the basis of gender, and secondly, on the basis of disability. This intersection of discrimination limits their access to quality education, skill acquisition, finance, decent employment opportunities, entrepreneurship platforms, and leadership positions. Therefore, both government and partners must deliberately create opportunities that enable women with disabilities to participate fully and productively in the economy.
Program Manager, ETTDI, Dr. Shola Adeoye, commended Nigeria's efforts in protecting the rights of PWDs as she presented the program's progress dashboard.
We think it's important to also assess the policy climate and see how we can ensure that there's increase with regards to awareness on the fact that women with disabilities have economic they have economic challenges, and they can be empowered to be people that are economically sound and able to influence positively their families and their communities at large. They won't be the women that you see begging on the streets, but they're able to have businesses that thrive and succeed.
Highlights of the dialogue was the development of policy ask document for compilation and submission to ETTDI for onward transmission to the House of Representatives Committee on Disability Matters, led by Honorable Bashiru Dawudu. The federal government has consolidated plans to modernize Nigeria's air traffic management systems with the groundbreaking of a state-of-the-art ATM center for the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, speaking at the ceremony, said the project has undertaken pursuant to Executive Order 12 and in fulfillment of President Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda. He charged the contractor to observe the highest standards of quality and to deliver within the 30 months stipulated in the contract.
The project we are commencing today is a strategic response to the need to consolidate NAMA's administrative and operational functions into a modern, purpose-built facility. For too long, our agencies have operated in silos and in structures that do not reflect their strategic importance. With this new headquarters, we are providing a conducive environment that will foster innovation, enhance collaboration, and boost the morale of the dedicated men and women who work tirelessly to keep our airspace safe. To the contractor, Mrs. NHD Interbiz Projects Limited, I urge you to see this as a national assignment. We expect you to deploy the best of your professional skill, technical competence, and financial resources to deliver a project that will stand the test of time. There will be no compromise on quality or adherence to specifications.
Earlier, the MD, Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, Farouk Umar, in his opening speech, described the project as a state-of-the-art ATM center to consolidate air traffic operations, collapse Lagos and Kanu into one hub, and provide seamless radar control over the airspace in Nigeria.
We are deploying the world-class cutting-edge technology that will be the backbone of our new ATM center, providing our controllers with unprecedented level of situational awareness and precision. The system is designed to the complexities of modern air traffic with high reliability and advanced automation.
The Director General, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Chris Najomo, the MD FAAN, and the Executive Secretary, NSIB, Director, Nigerian Civil Aviation Training School, and other stakeholders in the sector lauded the development, saying it will position Nigeria to respond to increasing air traffic demand and boost investor confidence in Nigeria's safety regulation.
This groundbreaking project aligns with global regulatory standards and recommended practices of ICAO, particularly in advancing performance-based navigation, that's the PBN, airspace optimization, and seamless regional integration. It also positions Nigeria to effectively respond to increasing air traffic demand and new emerging technologies, including unmanned aircraft systems and advanced air mobility.
The MD, NHD Interbit Projects Limited, the contractor, gave assurance of his commitment to delivering the project with precision and timeliness. You're watching ADBN News at 7. More reports to come after this break. Stay with us.
Welcome to FCT in Focus, your window to the vibrant heartbeat of Nigeria's capital. We dive deep into the core of the FCT, exploring how key policies and decisions shape lives across the city. From exclusive insights into the FCT administration to voices from the streets, we bring you stories that matter. Catch FCT in Focus every Saturday and Sunday at noon. Tune in for the latest stories directly from the nation's hearts.
Welcome back and thank you for staying tuned. You're watching ADBN News at 7. Edo State Governor Senator Monday Okpebholo says his administration's approach to governance is rooted in humility, faith and total dependence on God. The governor stated this at an interdenominational church program held at the Government House Chapel in Benin City, themed Power of God as of Old. Represented by the Coordinator Office of the First Lady, stated that while strategy and politics remain important, divine guidance is essential for lasting impact on sustainable development. The governor noted that progress recorded in security, infrastructure, agriculture, education, and other sectors under the Shine Agenda reflect what he describes as God's manifestation in the rebuilding of Edo State. He called on residents to continue supporting grassroots-driven development efforts across this state. The Special Advisor on Religious Matters and Chaplain of Government House Chapel, Apostle Faraday, commended the administration's efforts in tackling cultism and insecurity, while guest speaker Apostle Favor Awom emphasized the need for spiritual empowerment in fulfilling purpose. The program featured prayers and supplications for the government and people of Edo State.
This theme reminds us that government, governance, leadership, and service must be rooted in faith, humility, and total dependence on God. Human effort alone is not sufficient. Strategies and policies are important, but without the divine guidance, they cannot yield lasting impact. In an Edo State under the leadership of distinguished Senator Monday Okpebholo, the one that we refer to as the angel of Edo State, who the Lord has given us.
This program is held today. Why? Because the governor have told me, even I met his angel in the dream, and he told me that what is happening in Edo State is as a result of the power of God as of old, as God, Jesus yesterday, today, and forevermore.
Governor Hastings Alia has congratulated the newly appointed Acting Inspector General of Police, IGP Olatunji Disu, on his appointment. Governor Alia, in a message of facilitation, acknowledged the vast experience of the Acting Inspector General in policing, having served in different capacities where he demonstrated exceptional leadership and commitment to securing lives and property. He urged him to strengthen community engagement for effective policing, foster partnerships, and improve security measures to protect citizens. The governor said he had no doubt that the new Inspector General of Police would bring his expertise to bear in his new assignment to take security in Nigeria to the next level. While commending President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the appointment, Governor Alia reaffirmed Benue State's commitment to supporting the acting IG and the Nigeria Police Force in ensuring peace and stability across the country and Benue State. In particular, as well as expressed confidence that this leadership would bring about improved security outcomes and a safer environment for all. A statement by the technical advisor to the governor on media publicity and strategic communication, Chief Solomon Iropev, says Governor Alia's message followed the appointment and declaration of Disu as Acting Inspector General of Police by President Bola Tinubu following the resignation of the former IGP, Kayode Ekpetokun. Still in Benue State, where it has signed a memorandum of understanding with the federal government for the implementation of the Sustainable Integrated Productive Community, the SIPCP program aims at enhancing agricultural productivity and increase its visibility. Governor Alia led a delegation to the Ministry of Finance, where the Minister of State, Finance, Dr. Doris Uzoka Anite, signed the documents on behalf of the federal government. Dr. Uzoka Anite explained that SIPC was a federal government project designed to provide better conditions for farmers to thrive, including solar-powered housing, seedlings, inputs like fertilizer and herbicides, and off-takers who convert produce to secondary products, saying Benue State was one of the 2 pilot states along with Niger State. Governor Alia said his administration was committed to providing 100 hectares of land across the state for the program, stating that it aligned with his vision to make farming viable and attractive so that Benue State can become the agricultural hub of Africa. The governor explained that when fully operational, the SIPC would close up the housing deficits in the state, provide free farm seedlings and input for Benue farmers, facilitate conversion of produce to secondary products, thereby eradicating post-harvest losses and make farming more viable and attractive, as well as increase food security. A statement by the technical advisor to the governor on media publicity and strategic communication, Chief Solomon Ropev, says Governor Alia further stated that SIPC would also assist in resetting willing IDPs within the safe farming communities, adding that the program was domiciled with the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, which holds majority shares in the Nigerian Sovereign Wealth Fund to fund investments. Early childhood care and education has been described as the most effective way to improve learning outcomes among children. Well, this came to the fore at the end of a 2-day media dialogue on strengthening early childhood education and access to quality education for media practitioners in Sokoto, Kebbi and Zamfara states. ADBN's Northwest correspondent Dawal Aliyu reports. We apologize for that. The story will come in subsequent bulletins. You're watching ADBN News at 7. More reports to come after this break. Stay with us.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on ADBN TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
Welcome back. Now to the foreign scene, where a 14-year-old pupil and a taxi operator have died. It follows a fatal shooting at a secondary school in the coastal city of Cape Town. It's being investigated by the South African police. Police say an unidentified man opened fire on the taxi as the driver waited to pick up pupils on Wednesday, shooting the driver, another man, and 2 children. 2 pupils aged 14 and 16 were also injured in the attack, which has been linked to long-running deadly turf wars between rival taxi associations. Isaac Seliku, the senior Western Cape official, said it is unacceptable that children continue to be exposed to danger as a result of ongoing conflict within the taxi industry. There is a history of violence in South Africa's highly competitive and lucrative taxi industry spanning decades. Though many bus taxis continue to dominate the market, the rise of e-hailing services is increasing tensions, leading to violence and sometimes deadly clashes between operators. Senior United States and Ukrainian officials are meeting in Geneva. It's to discuss efforts to negotiate an end to the war, now in its 5th year. Kiev's top negotiator, Rustem Umarov, leader of the Ukrainian delegation, in a post on X, said a 4-person team had begun meeting with the U.S. delegation, including Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, in the Swiss city. He said the two sides would discuss post-war reconstruction and preparations for the next meeting with Russia, where they hope to achieve a breakthrough in the U.S.-led effort to negotiate an end to the war. Previous U.S.-led negotiations between Kiev and Moscow in Geneva and Abu Dhabi have failed to yield a compromise, including on a key sticking point of territory. Umarov says those attending would work through the prosperity package, mechanisms for economic support and recovery of Ukraine, instruments for attracting investments, and frameworks for long-term consideration and cooperation. He said the meeting would also involve preparations for the next round of trilateral negotiations with Russia, adding it was necessary to synchronize positions ahead of the stage. He further said the talks would also discuss the issue of possible prisoner exchanges, adding that they are focused on practical solutions. And now to sports, where Nigeria's women national football team, the Super Falcons, have commenced training in Yaoundé as preparations intensify for their international friendly double-header against Cameroon's women national football team. The first friendly encounter is scheduled for the 28th of February, with the return fixture set for the 3rd of March. Both matches to be played in Yaoundé. The 9-time African champions held their opening training session on Wednesday at the Stade Omnisport de Amhadou Adjolo, with 11 players taking part as camp activities gathered momentum in the Cameroonian capital. Camp officially opened on Tuesday, marking the beginning of the team's build-up to the two high-profile fixtures. Among the players already in camp are Captain Rashidat Ajibade, Ngozi Okobi, Christy Uchembe, Glory Obona, Gift Monday, Joy Oyemwa, Fatima Oloko, among others. The fixtures form an important part of Nigeria's preparations for the forthcoming Women's Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco, where the Super Falcons will be aiming to defend their continental title. And now we will be joining our correspondent who will give us updates from the Niger Delta Games. Well, we're still hoping to get more feed from him, but Akwa Ibom capped a dominant outing in tennis at the Niger Delta Games, finishing with 4 medals, 3 gold and 1 silver, following impressive performances from Wisdom Effiong and Itoro Basi on the final day of competition. Wisdom Effiong delivered a composed and commanding display in the men's singles final, defeating Ahmed Zion of Timondo in straight sets 7-5, 6-3 to clinch gold for Akwa Ibom. The victory sealed a strong campaign for the state in the tennis event. Speaking after the match, Effiong expressed confidence going into the final and thanked the Niger Delta Development Commission for providing a platform to showcase his talents.
I was not under pressure at all. I just felt like, let me just enjoy myself. At first, I thought that he's an older person that he might, but I did not believe that he will beat me because I've been training a lot. I know that when my opponent was leading me, he was so confident that he did not want to lose any points. So I had to push him to do some unforced error in the match, and that I went inside the net and did my best. Yeah, now it has given me courage that I can defeat anybody in the tennis sport. Thank you, NDDC, for giving me this opportunity to showcase my talent. So thank you.
In the women's singles final, Etorobasi battle-led hard but failed to team Edo's Suwa Nenrots in a 3-set encounter, 4-6, 6-4, 6-1, settling for silver. Basi described the final as tough and highly competitive, while outlining her plans to build on the experience after the games.
I think at the second set I was kind of in a rush to make points, and I was losing a lot, and my overhead was bad, was totally bad for the second set. I mean, I couldn't get it in, and during the third set I was struggling a bit to come back into the game, but kind of was too late. The double faults, I mean, like since the beginning of the tournament I've been doing a lot of double faults, and I think I'm not like jumping enough and adding enough spin to the ball. That's where the double faults are coming in, and I'll try to work on that and adjust it. I'm not sure about next year. I don't think I'm coming back for next year, but it's still a good thing. Probably in college. I'm doing college tennis as well.
Suwa Nenrot, who claimed gold for Edo State, credited her tactical discipline and pre-match game plan for helping her prevail in the decisive third set.
It was stressful. At first, I was scared. Then my coach said that I should just put all balls on court. So that's what I used. That's the strategy I used on her. I was putting all balls on court, and I used the top spin on her. Yes, because that's what she usually don't like.
Sprint legend Mary Onyali has commended the Niger Delta Development Commission and Dunamis Icon for staging the Niger Delta Games and providing a platform for the next generation of athletes. Speaking on the sidelines of the Games in Benin City, Edo State, the multiple Olympic medalist praised the initiative, describing it as a vital pathway for discovering and nurturing young sporting talent, urging the NDDC to remain committed and never relent in sustaining the program. Oyali further advised that talent discovery must be followed by deliberate development, emphasizing the need for structured training programs, mentorship, and continuous exposure to ensure long-term success. Rena Wakama, head coach of Nigeria's senior women's basketball team, the Tigers, has announced a 17-player provincial squad ahead of the FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup qualifying tournament, scheduled to take place from 11th to 17th of March in Lyon, France. The squad is led by experienced players including Okoronkwo, Sarah Okoge, Promise Amumaka, and Izine Kalu. Also included are emerging talents Pius Beggy, Adenike Olawuyi, Grace Efusa, among others. The Tigers will begin their qualifying campaign against Colombia on the 11th of March before taking on the South Korean team on the 12th of March. They will then face the Philippines on the 14th of March, France on 15th March, and then conclude their fixtures against Germany on the 17th of March. The top 3 teams from the group will progress to the next stage. Nigeria's women's team has already secured qualification for the 2026 FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup in Berlin, scheduled for the 4th and 13th of September, after winning the 2025 Women's AfroBasket title. However, the side is still required to participate in the qualifying tournament. Australia, Belgium, and the United States of America have also confirmed their places at the World Cup. One qualifiers in France will serve as part of Nigeria's preparations for the global tournament. And now we move back to our correspondent in Edo State, who is at the Niger Delta Games, at the closing of the Niger Delta Games. Hello, Bright James. Are you there? All right. Right, so we're still trying to reach our sports correspondent who is at the Niger Delta Games, which is taking place at Edo State. He started on the 21st of February and has ended today. Hello, Bright James, are you there?
The greatest of the greatest Niger Delta athletes, Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, unfortunately, we have not been able to connect to our correspondent, but that's it on ADBN News at 7. Remember to watch us live on DSTV channel 258, Star Times channel 140, Avo TV app, Limex World TV app, and Naija TV app. For more stories, visit our website at adbntv.com. Not forgetting, you can watch us live from every part of the world by logging on to adbntv.com/live. Thanks for joining the news this evening. I am Ama Marcus. Good evening.